And welcome back, everyone, to Lantern Corps. Today, from Daniel F., we have what if is the Lantern Corps of Blade? I almost said what if he was the Lantern Corps, but what is the Lantern Corps of Blade, the Daywalker? Blade falls into an interesting category. He kind of runs, I keep saying, I use this term a lot, emotional gambit, a little bit. That's not entirely true to the extent that he covers every single emotion. He does not. But there's like a good solid 3 to even 4 or 5 you could actually qualify for when you actually break it down. But I think I'll start with the 3 main ones I think he's almost guaranteed to qualify for. Let's get it started with. So starting right out, Green. Green has to be in the conversation for Blade. He is a kid who was a half vampire, was afraid of people got to find out, kill him, nearly was killed by Whistler, and ultimately turned his anger, his rage, his birth into a power against, the forces of evil, vampires, all that. And so to do that, you not only have to have great willpower, you have to overcome great fear, which he did. So will has to be on the table. But believe it or not, I actually don't think it's the dominant one for Blade. I actually think there are 2 others. And in fact, I might even bring up a 4th one just a minute as soon as I get to bring it up the image. Fear, I think, actually might work better because he is the scourge of kind of the supernatural underworld in many regards. Vampires fear him. Like, he is the Daywalker. He can find you even in the sunlight. And that is frightening when you are a vampire. That is a frightening ass concept. So I think the fact is he scares a lot of people, and I think he uses that. He is a little bit Batman in that sense, where he uses his reputation and what the rep he's gained from that reputation to intimidate his foes accordingly. But beyond that, there is also the fact that he's angry. This is a man who carries a lot of anger in him. By the way, I am mostly looking at the movie version of Blade for this, as it's the image I used for the thumbnail. But I will still reference the comics occasionally. This is a guy who harbors a lot of resentment and anger towards the vampiric race, pretty much, for what they did to him, just in his creation, what they did to his mother. And he even said, I believe it's in the the first movie where she talks about, mentions how humans don't drink blood. And I can't remember her name, but the doctor that he said was there for the time mentioned how, my mother used to speak about how it was a poison that kills. And he goes, every time I kill one of those things, I get a little piece of that back. So don't you tell me to forget. He didn't say it quite like that, but he's more like it's that very cold, like anger. Like, so don't you tell me to forget. Like, yeah, like, damn, the dude is angry. The dude is angry, and he carries that with him. Rage actually could be a pretty good Lantern Corps, but there is one other Lantern Corps that I didn't immediately have an image ready for, but I'm going to bring it up right now as soon as there we go. And we're going to just do that. Here we go. There is one other Lantern Corps we can talk about because it deals with negative emotion. That is the Ultraviolet Lanterns. Now, the Ultraviolet Lanterns to this day, it's never been stated exactly what emotion they what they command or commands them. It is, however, believed to be shame. Shame is the thing that is believed to be the predominant negative emotion that powers the Ultraviolets. And yeah, that does actually apply to Blade pretty well. Blade is very ashamed of who he is and what he is. He carries a lot of that resentment for him, not just for vampires, but for himself. He is very self-loathing in both the movies and in the comics. And so he could definitely become an Ultraviolet given the right circumstances. So, yeah, honestly, the negative emotions of shame, rage, and fear are all actually pretty good candidates. Green is a good candidate too, but I do think he actually qualifies for one of these more. The one argument I might make, though, is rage. Not to say that rage doesn't... He's not controlled. Not to say that rage isn't a big motivator for him, but it's one of those emotions where he's got it under control. Yeah, it's like a driving force, but he's got it in check most of the time. A little bit like Wolverine. Wolverine could certainly be rage, but that's only going towards like the berserker side of him. Yeah, he harbors a lot of resentment and stuff like that, but I don't know if you can quite qualify that under a rage lantern ring. For you to qualify for a rage lantern ring, you need to be feeling the worst rage, the rage of revenge, and wanting to take your vengeance on someone, as well as a lantern having to be present, because ultimately, if the lantern ring of rage isn't quite there when you're at your peak of rage, you might not be able to ever qualify exactly for a rage lantern. Even if you're harboring a lot of anger, if you've got it in check, the rage lantern ring might not go immediately towards you. It's a fickle ring that way. It kind of has to be there. So rage, of the top three, rage might be the one I'd kind of ditch. But that comes down to fear and shame. That's actually pretty tough, because he is, like I said, ashamed of what he is. He does not like what he is. But he's also immensely feared and uses that too. I would say, seeing as we're looking at mostly the movie Blade right now, and I'm not going to do another one for the comic Blade, please don't ask. If we're looking at kind of them maybe composited a little bit together, I would probably... oh man, that is tough. I might lean towards fear. Because even though there are plenty of characters who aren't inherently afraid of him, it's more like the vampires in Mass. When they hear about the Daywalker and they say, Daywalker! They try to get the fuck out of there. They only fight when they're like, okay, I'm not getting away from him, gotta fight. Shit. Like that's what it is. They try to hightail it when they see him most of the time. So ultimately, yeah, I would lean towards fear, maybe over shame, but I think shame is actually a really good core to consider him for. Which now brings us to the last part that I am now implementing in the series, trying to figure out the best of the rest. What are the lantern cores that he could very much qualify for, and like the runners up, all that, if none of these rings were around? Let's just break it down. Love, at the bare bones minimum, maybe, because he did clearly have love for his mother. He was getting vengeance for her. But I don't know if I'd go so far to say this is all motivated out of love. I don't know if I could say that. So that one, it would either be it's probably not at the bottom, given a couple of the other ones we're going to go for in just a second. In fact, I'm going to tell you right now, the white lanterns and the gold lanterns are going to be at the straight freaking bottom. Blade has never been happy his entire life. And he's not, even if he was happy at this point in his life, I don't know if that would qualify him. And even if he just had to be happy at that one point, that still wouldn't work. Yeah, he just can't be a gold lantern. White lantern, I think, would be second from the bottom, because Blade being part vampire means that he's not immortal, but he's got a better lifespan than others. He can live longer, but that's really all he's got going for him. He's protecting people, I guess, but he's doing it by taking life. So White Lantern would be immediately after Gold Lantern on the bottom of the pack. Beyond that, though, I don't see Blade as very greedy, but that's not to say he probably wouldn't try to do something if he knew it would, like, wipe out more vamps. I'd put Avarice maybe third from the bottom. Again, pretty weak. But then you get into compassion, love. I'd probably put compassion next after this. He's not devoid of compassion. He cares about his fellow man. He does. He doesn't give a shit about vampires, but he cares about his fellow man. It's just not a dominant emotion one way or the other in terms of lack thereof or an abundance of. So I would go then compassion. Then you got still love, hope, and death. I'd probably go hope next, because any sort of hero, anti-hero, whatever, can inspire people, can be a beacon of hope. I would say Blade falls on the lower side of those types of heroes, but he still could qualify as that type of hero to someone. Not only that, he probably carries at least some of the old one day take them all out. So I would lean towards Hope on that front. Second from the actual main list, I would then go Love. Like I said, you could make an argument some of it comes out of love or the love he had for his mother, even though he basically never met her. So there's that. But beyond that, I think if you're talking about the big runner-up, I actually think it would be the Black Lantern Corps, because he is a vampire, at least half vampire, a dhampir, if you will. So he kind of has a representation of death that's already kind of biologically built into him. But beyond that, this dude kills a lot of people, not just vampires either. He kills humans who are like, familiars. He kills other supernatural creatures. He's in the Marvel universe, so there's plenty of other things out there for him to kill. And so, yeah, Death actually would be a pretty good runner-up. He's not dead. He's not even undead, because vampires, at least like Blade, are not technically supernatural. He's just, because he's never died, at least as far as I know, he's never died. Maybe Blade has died, but in the comics at least, but he's not dead, at least in the movies. But because he's never died in the movies, and because, as far as I know, he's not dead at the moment in the comics, as far as I know, I would say that's probably a runner-up Lantern Corps. Like, that's the best case you got there. So at the bottom of the list, going from top to bottom here, we got Gold. We got White. We got Avarice. We got, I think I put Compassion next, or Hope. I think Compassion. Hope. Then we got Love. Then we got Black Lantern. And then we had to round it all out. We had the Lantern Corps of Rage, Will. I think I went Will and Rage. Those two might be interchangeable for me. Shame and then Fear. That is the Lantern Corps of Blade. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think I got it right for his dominant Lantern Corps, or do you think we could have done something different? Let me know in the comments below. Or do you think any of the ones that I didn't put on the actual list would qualify? Let me know about that as well. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks next time.